2 months ago, I purchased this plant for $125 and I cloned it from a leaf sample using a process called tissue culture. It's 60 days later and I currently have 50 clones of that plant that I started with. That's over $6,000 worth of plants, all in exchange for about 2 hours of hands-on work. Plant tissue culture is a process that is simple enough to do at home in your kitchen, and that is a big problem for rare plant collectors because the moment you can mass produce something, it's no longer rare. Today I want to talk about how tissue culture is absolutely destroying the rare plant market and also the role I may or may not have played in its demise. Before we get into it, please remember to like this video and subscribe if you're not. Also, I have a website, plantsandjars.shop, where I sell supplies for doing tissue culture at home. The most popular item for beginners is the Plants and Jars starter kit, which includes the 5 products that you would use to make tissue culture media, or that gel that the plants multiply on. The starter kit comes with digital access to my protocol library, which contains cookbook-style recipes for cloning all sorts of different types of plants. I actually cloned that super expensive begonia that I just showed following the Plants and Jars begonia protocol. Everything will be linked below, including a beginner, no experience needed tutorial for how to use the starter kit. Okay, let's get into it. There is a whole subculture of people who collect plants. It's kind of like Magic the Gathering cards, sneakers, or expensive watches. People like to collect things that are perceived as rare and therefore valuable. But unlike Magic cards, which Wizards of the Coast can agree not to reprint in order to protect their value, plants are living things. That means if you have one plant, you can pretty much always use that plant to make another plant, and then another one, and then 50 more, and all of a sudden your $300 one-of-a-kind plant is being sold on Facebook Marketplace for 20 bucks. The ability to propagate plants is what makes the rare plant market so unstable. Prices can skyrocket when something new and cool appears, but then collapse once people start multiplying it, especially with methods like tissue culture that are very effective for creating a lot of plants in a short amount of time. If plants can multiply so easily, why did I still pay over $100 for the one that I just showed? The main reason that plants like this one, which is a begonia pink urchin, can be so expensive is because they just aren't available on a commercial level. You can't just walk into Home Depot and get one. You have to go to some random lady's Etsy store and riz her up before she'll sell it to you. Because only small hobby growers are cultivating these plants, there's a very limited supply, and that allows the growers to pretty much charge whatever they want. In my opinion, there are 2 types of scarcity in the plant economy. Plant economy sounds crazy, but I swear it's a real thing. The first type is natural scarcity. When plants have natural scarcity, it's generally because nature has made them really annoying to deal with. I like to think of these as plants that you would see at a botanical garden, but not at your local plant store. These plants are difficult to grow, they grow really slow, and they sometimes have a very small native range where they come from. An example of a naturally scarce plant would be the Titan arum, or the corpse flower. It's hard to find seedlings of this plant because they only flower every 10 years, so you can only get seeds every 10 years. Another example would be the elephantippes. It can take decades for this plant to form the cracked caudex that it's known for. Plants with natural scarcity tend to be difficult to mass produce because they're difficult to grow in cultivation. Tissue culture is powerful, but it doesn't overcome every limitation. Plants that grow slow also tend to grow slow in vitro. Some have really low multiplication rates, and they often require years of growth after coming out of TC before they can be large enough to sell. The second type of scarcity is artificial scarcity. This category covers most of the plants that you see blowing up on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Social media can create demand really fast, and then supply will just take longer to catch up to that demand. A lot of these plants are very easy to grow, and they could easily be mass-produced with tissue culture, but they just aren't yet. Sometimes artificial scarcity is intentional, and a very small group of people will control almost all of the access to a certain plant. Terunoworld is a Japanese pothos grower. They have one authorized US distributor who is allowed to sell their plants in the United States, and she is very selective about who she will sell to. Oh, she's going to get it. I did bid on it before she showed it, so hopefully it looks good. Wow. Okay, nobody outbid me.
Love song.
When I tried to order a Teruno love song on Palm Street during a live stream, I guess she knew who I was because she immediately canceled my order and also preemptively blocked me on Instagram. So anyways, I bought one on the black market instead. Artificial scarcity can also happen unintentionally just because the supply chain is slow to catch up to demand. Even when a plant is a perfect candidate for tissue culture, there's typically a 1 to 2 year delay between the plant getting really popular on social media and the clones of that plant hitting the market. Laboratories have to acquire the plant, clean it, successfully get it into tissue culture, successfully multiply it, and then get them ready to sell. It usually starts overseas. Small TC labs in Thailand and China are very fast to react to things getting popular online and getting them into TC. A plant that will eventually become common can still feel rare during this ramp-up period, simply because laboratories aren't magic plant vending machines. Back in July of this year, I purchased a Monstera electrolyte from a laboratory in Thailand for $500. That same plant, just like 4 or 5 months later, is now available for $250. There's a chance that this Monstera cultivar will never get popular enough to become commercially available, but I would bet that you can probably get one for under $50 in the next 12 to 24 months. Also, yes, I realize that spending $500 on a plant is crazy, but the P in PIJ is for plants, not for profits. Once a rare plant becomes widely available through TC or mass production, some sellers will still try to keep their prices artificially high. When prices were dropping for the Spiritus Sancti a few years ago, some sellers started advertising their plants as seed grown to try to position them as more valuable than clones.
Today I wanted to talk about some of the issues with tissue culture plants. This is Spiritus Sancti. It's a philodendron, one of the rare ones out there. And if you look real close, you'll notice how we have a radial growth pattern. Now, nobody wants that. This here is an example of a seed-grown Spiritus Sancti. Now, as you can tell, it has all the features that you're looking for. You got balding in the front, party in the back. We call that a skullet. That's the key feature that you're looking for with Spiritus Sancti. You can only get this out of a seed-grown Spiritus. You can't get that out of tissue culture.
A lot of people have very strong emotions about tissue culture plants versus seed-grown plants. The main difference is that tissue culture plants are all clones of each other, so they're all essentially the exact same plant. Seed-grown plants can look a little bit different from each other because seeds are a result of sexual reproduction, which mixes the DNA of the plant in unique ways each time. The marketing around seed-grown plants is very similar to the marketing around mined diamonds. The diamond industry has tried to convince people that mined diamonds are superior to lab-made diamonds, even though they are chemically exactly the same thing. And as lab diamonds became more popular, prices for mined diamonds have actually fallen as a result. Not because mined diamonds have gotten worse, but just because there's a cheaper, equally good alternative available to people. Personally, I don't really care whether a plant in my collection came from tissue culture or was grown from seed. It's not something I really think about. When a seller claims that their plants are more valuable because they were seed grown, all I really hear is, please keep paying 2019 prices. I don't want to lower my prices. But while the Redditors were arguing the semantics of lab-grown versus seed-grown plants, a whole army of people started doing tissue culture in their basements. Tissue culture is what collapses artificial scarcity the fastest, not just because it's a very effective method for cloning lots and lots of plants and more people are doing it, which is true, but also because more people just know about it and understand it in the first place. Once collectors know which plants could easily be mass-produced with TC, they stop paying rare plant prices for those particular plants. Micropropagation used to kind of have this veil of mystery around it, and I think a lot of that has lifted over the past few years. Not just because of me alone, obviously, but I do think that the tutorials I've made and the community that we've built around tissue culture has played a role in this shift. Just in my Discord server alone, we have over 6,000 people doing tissue culture on tons of different types of plants all over the world. I'm constantly like blown away by what people are doing and the home setups that they put together. It's really cool. I think that the era of gatekeeping rare plants is over. And if you want to see why you should never pay rare plant prices again, I want to show you what really happened with my begonia experiment. Now, in full transparency, this experiment was such a hot mess. I should have ended up with thousands of plants. I told you at the beginning, I ended up with 50. Out of the 15 jars, which each contained about 5 to 10 explants, only one explant in one jar survived. But from that one little blob of surviving tissue, I ended up with those 50 plants. And those 50 plants could easily be turned into dozens of more plants each if I keep multiplying them in TC. My point is that even when you do tissue culture very badly, you can still end up with a lot of plants. It's a very powerful propagation tool. The last thing I want to say is that I've seen people talking online about how they feel about tissue culture, and a lot of people have some negative things to say about it and how it's affected the hobby. So my question for you guys in the comments is, has tissue culture ruined the magic of collecting for you, or do you think it improves the hobby for the better? Again, please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!